So I have 9 children.
9.
Um, yeah, 9. And I started my business after my oldest one had already left home. So I did not have 9 toddlers running around, And it's funny because the business that I had before this one, I did like a party plan, direct sales business selling children's books. And so when my kids found out that I was going to be doing bookkeeping, they were like, "Oh, mom, do we have to carry all these boxes of books again?" And I'm like, "No, different kind of books, different kind of books. We're not talking about actual physical, boxes of books." I think it's been good, especially for my daughters, to see me working from home, being able to take care of my kids. I homeschool all my kids. And so I am there for the big things. I can't imagine doing anything else really. So it's been wonderful all the way around.
Behind every successful business is a story, and you all know that. There's a story of courage, creativity, and taking control of your future. And this is the Stay at Home Bookkeeper podcast, and where this is where we're doing real talk, where we share real stories, struggles, and successes of people who've built freedom-based businesses. So, if you're ready to design a business that fits your life or scale your existing business that you may already have and hear real talk from those doing it already, you're in the right place. I am so excited about today. I've been looking forward to this interview for so long, Kirstin Reeder. Like, man, I gotta tell you, like, Kirsten is like known in the industry for her bookkeeping business and how she just has blown up her businesses. And I say businesses because it's multiple now. And what she's done. So she's going to be sharing a little bit today, and we'll ask her some really fun questions. So how are you today, Kirsten?
I'm doing fantastic, actually. So thank you for asking.
I'm so glad you're here. So,
Yeah.
Kirsten, tell me this. What got you started in bookkeeping to begin with?
Yeah, this is a long time in coming. It's a short story, but it started over a long period of time. So, a million years ago, when I was in high school, I took an accounting class and I was like, this is the best thing ever. Now, in those days, it was on paper. We had
Yep.
paper and we would write the little pretend checks and we had actual green sheets and because we didn't, I mean, we had computers, but that's not what we were doing. And I just fell in love with the whole idea of accounting. And so I went to college to be an accountant. I kind of fell out of love with it as I got up in my studies because it was geared toward all this like really high level, in my opinion, nonsense, like calculating the present value of blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is just killing me. I just wanted to work with small businesses. That's all I wanted to do. Well, I dropped out of college. That's the whole side story on its own. And I went to work and then I had my son and stayed home ever since. And that was he's 28, 28 and a
Yeah.
half. And at that time, this is back in 97, my stepmom had a business and she wanted me to be her bookkeeper. Well, she lived in Colorado. I lived in Oklahoma, and we did have the internet at that time, but it wasn't in a place where there was all this online bookkeeping, at least not for normal people. I mean, I'm sure that if I had had some sort of resources, I could have done it. So it just never happened. And I still loved bookkeeping, loved the idea of business ownership, but we couldn't figure out how to make it work at that time. Fast forward to 2015, and I happened to read an article by Ben Robinson about starting a an online bookkeeping business, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, this is what I've been waiting for." And so I jumped in with both feet, and that was the beginning of my current business, which is now over 10 years old. So it's something that I've always wanted to do, but until that point, I didn't really have a way to do it. And the doors finally opened so that I could start my business.
I love that, and the thing is that you went into it from high school, obviously, and in
Yeah.
college, knowing what you wanted to do, and obviously very good at accounting and math. What's
Yeah.
great about today, and what I think I love the most is that you don't have to be good at math in order to do it.
No,
I
no.
failed math in college. Let's just be real.
And really, I mean, there's not a lot of math involved. Can you
No.
sort things? Can you
Right.
sort things out? And it's more about law, to be quite honest. And we add and subtract. That's it. We don't have to do a lot of math.
Well, and we talk about it like here at the Stay at Home Bookkeeper. It's kind of like organizing groceries. Like, I mean, when you bring in the groceries in the kitchen, like you know where things go. You don't
Exactly.
put, bread in the refrigerator right away. You put the ice cream in the freezer. You put the peanut butter in the pantry. You put like milk in the refrigerator. Like you know where things go, and it's kind of just it's just organization. I mean, this
Uh-huh.
does all the real work for you. But if you can organize in today's world with all the tools that we have at our disposal, anyone can be a bookkeeper, and that's the really cool part about
Yeah.
this industry, and I think that's what I love about it.
Yeah, yeah. That's exactly right. People always, I mean, you have to be not scared of numbers, but actual math, nope. It's like you said, it's just sorting, organizing, that's it. But you can't be afraid of numbers. That's a whole other thing that some people are, but
I love that. So do
yeah.
you have I'm curious, do you have a certain industry that you work around, or is it kind of all I know you also do bookkeeping, you also do, taxes, and so there's a lot you have a pretty large, portfolio of things that you do, but, like, do you have a specific industry that you work with?
Yep, for on the bookkeeping side of things, we only work with travel and tourism businesses. So tour companies, experience companies, adventure companies, and then travel agencies. Those are the only ones that we work with. So anybody else that comes to us, we refer out to other bookkeepers.
So, okay, let's dive into that for a second. What
Yeah.
made you because we've got people in our Stay Home Bookkeeper Academy that do both. They'll pick a niche and they kind of just go in that,
Mhm.
like whether it's restaurants or auto industry, and then
Yep.
we've got some that just do it all, right? And so, what was it that set you apart that said I want to do the travel industry?
That took a long period of time. So I went into starting my bookkeeping business and I even named it in such a way that I was going to work with sustainable agriculture. I was going to work with sustainable farms. So not your average farm, but the ones that, are working with the land and they're trying to be really responsible. And they usually would sell direct to the consumer, and that was the industry that I wanted to be in. Well, that went nowhere, and for several different reasons. And then I thought, okay, we'll switch and we'll niche in cannabis because I live in Colorado and that's legal here. And so I thought, okay, we're going to go in that direction. Well, there was a whole lot of reasons why I ended up not going that direction. And so for a long time, while all of this was going on, I did accept pretty much anybody who needed a bookkeeper. And so I
Right.
did work with several different types of clients. And my very, very first client was in the tour industry. They have gondola cruise business. And after all these other niches, I was like, what am I going to do? Like I thought about restaurants, I don't know, because I really, really did want to specialize. Um, I looked and I thought, no one is that I know of is actually focusing on the tour business, on these travel experiences. And now I've found that there are some of us, but there's not very many. It's not like construction or, trades or things like that where there's just so many.
Mhm.
And they really have some unique needs. And there's, language and vocabulary that it's helpful. And so I said, you know what, let's go all in on this one. And so that is where we are today. So yeah, they were my first client. They're still with me. And I just finally, after several years, decided that is where I want to go.
I think you just kind of find it, right? Like it
Yeah,
finds you, of course,
exactly.
right? It finds you because you're like, oh, I really like this industry. And then word of mouth in that industry spreads
Exactly.
and you become known in that industry, for being able to be the keeper of all things. And I love that
Yeah.
about you. So
Yeah.
let's switch a little bit because what I know
Okay.
about you from over the past years is kind of your family and how important
Yeah.
family. I mean, one of the things that the stay-at-home bookkeeper is we talk about that life and family balance and getting that freedom. And that's the reason why I personally think having a bookkeeping career is so amazing is because you can choose when you want to work, when you don't want to work. If you've got your grandkids, if you want your kids, whatever it is, you can work your business around your family. And
Yeah.
so, and I know you've got a very large family. Tell us a
I
little bit
do.
about your family and how this has impacted you.
Yeah. So I have 9 children.
Nine.
Um, yeah, 9 and 5 beautiful grandbabies. So
Yeah, I have five
excited.
too. I love it. They're awesome.
Yeah. Yes. And so now I started my business after my oldest one had already left home. So it's not like, and it's so funny because people often will think 9, oh my gosh, how do you do it? I did not have all 9 at the same time. I did not have 9 toddlers running around. Like I said, by the time I started my business, my oldest one had already left home. He was in the Marine Corps and doing his own thing. And my youngest was 7-ish months old at the time, but I had helpers. I have older kids that can help. And so my youngest has just kind of grown up with me working. It was a little bit of a struggle at first with my older kids because they're used, well, especially my oldest, he calls and he thinks, oh, mom's always around. Mom's always available. I'm like, dude, I'm in a meeting. What do you need? I've got stuff that I need to do. So that it's a little because he didn't grow up with me working. So this whole concept is foreign to him. But the younger kids have definitely caught on. But they and it's funny because the business that I had before this one, I did like a party plan, direct sales business selling children's books. And so when my kids found out that I was going to be doing bookkeeping, they were like, "Oh, mom, do we have to carry all these boxes of books again?" And I'm like, "No, that's not different kind of books, different kind of books. We're not talking about actual physical, boxes of books. So no more of that." Um, but it's been really good. I think it's been good, especially for my daughters to see me working from home, being able to take care of my kids. I homeschool all my kids, and so that's been important. It's a balance for sure. There's like I was in the middle of reading about the Amazon rainforest about 15 minutes ago, and I said, "Oh, got to go jump on a podcast. Don't bother me. Don't bother me, son," because he's 10 now. And he's like, "Okay, how long is it going to be?" I said about 45 minutes. So he's kind of used to that. He's used to me traveling. And they just, I don't know, they've just kind of gotten used to everything. And I am there for the big things.
Yeah.
Um, and I can't imagine doing anything else really. So it's been wonderful all the way around. There's days when, I've got a deadline. And so, okay, some things have to be put on hold or like, right now, we've got, my husband's a federal employee and he's not getting paid necessarily from the shutdown. And so that's been a little bit weird as far as time off and travel and who's doing what and all that, but it all works out in the end. it may not be pretty all the time, but it does all work out in the end.
Yeah, I think something that's you touched on that I think is really important is that when you're fortunate, right, that you're not only relying on just your spouse's income because you have your own business, you have multiple businesses
Yeah,
actually.
yeah. Uh-huh.
And so for something like this, when this does happen to a spouse, that a position, a job, government
Yeah,
shutdown, whatever that may be, you're not putting your family at risk because you have built your business. You have built something that
exactly.
you can rely on, that your family can rely on. And I think that's so incredibly powerful. And I think anyone listening or watching today, they should really understand that, like, I mean, Kirsten's been able to do it all. Like, she's able to like have a family of nine, own multiple businesses. Her husband is unfortunately, off right now, and that's not impacting them to the level that it would impact a lot of people, right? And so
Mhm.
that's the beauty of this business. And you can
Yeah,
choose, right? Like you can choose
yeah.
how big your business or your how little or what you do. And I have a mad respect for you, by the way.
Aw, thank you, thank you. Well, and I thought of something else. Speaking of my husband, he had a pretty severe accident 3 years ago, almost to the day, and he was out of work for 2 months. Now, fortunately, because he works for the federal government, he had sick time, and he also never uses sick time. So he had sick time built up that he could take. So we weren't out the money. But I was able to take him to all of his doctor's appointments because he was not able to drive, and he had multiple doctor's appointments, surgeries, etc. after this accident. And I was able to do all that and work my business all around that. And my clients were wonderful. I was able to explain to them, hey, I'm taking, like, a couple weeks off. My husband had this accident, da da da. And some of them still to this day will say, "Hey, how's your husband doing?" I'm like, "Oh, he's fine.
Oh,
He's
that's
blind in
great.
one eye. He's blind in one eye, but he's fine." And it's almost like we don't even it's not like we don't think about it, but it doesn't affect our daily life like it did 3 years ago. And so my business was able to be very, very flexible. I didn't have to go to my boss and say, "Hey, can I take some time off? Can it be unpaid if need be, etc., to take care of my husband?" I was able to do that with my business.
I love that. And I think
Mhm.
one of the things that I've known you for several years, and what I love about you is your magnetism, right? Like there's just something magnetic about you, Kirsten, that like it like people just are drawn to you. I've seen you at live
Aw,
events and
thank
people
you.
are
Yeah.
just they're like I'm like, where are they going? Oh, they're going for Kirsten. She's over there. Like
That's
you just
sweet.
got a magnetism about you. People really love being around you. And so this is kind of what I'm going to is my next question because
Mhm.
I'm curious as to we've got a lot of people in our Stay at Home Bookkeeper Academy that are or they're new, they may be new in the bookkeeping business, or we've got seasoned ones that have been in it for a long time. And you know, I think the newbies come in and see the season and they're like, oh, they've already got it all together. And I can't get out there and get my own clients. I'm an introvert or whatever that may be. And then you've got season ones still that are very, very, very polished, but they could also be introverts as well. It's very interesting to me to see the different dynamics, right? And then you see someone that comes in and is brand new and is just exceptional, and they've had no experience whatsoever. What an amazing bookkeeper, what an amazing business owner. Just, I mean, they come out the gates just incredible. And I'm positive that if I've known you from years ago, you would have been that person. So my question is this:
Okay.
what do you think separates a great bookkeeper from an average one? And I know that's kind of a really weird question, but I'm just curious because you've got a magnetism that I think people just love, and that is your skill set, whether you know that or not
Right.
about you. And that's
Yeah.
probably why people are drawn to you. But what do you think? And so I think that's for you. But like, what do you think it is for anybody else that separates a good versus an average?
I
Or
would
awesome.
there's a couple of different things that come. I mean, and I don't know. This is like totally thinking out, just off the top of my head type of thing. There's a couple different things I can think of. So, when it comes to being a good bookkeeper, I think just being able to have confidence that you know what you're doing. I feel like sometimes people are like, "Well, I don't really know. And they're very timid about just their
Right.
skills in general. Whereas if you know that you know that you know what you are doing, that comes across whether or not you know it. It's something that when
It's what
you
you reflect, right?
yes, it's what
Confidence.
you're reflecting when you can express that, yeah, I totally understand what I'm doing and this is how this works and that works. Um it 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 gives the impression, because it's true, that you are a good bookkeeper. Then, like you were talking about, the introvert versus extrovert, and I'm not an introvert. I used to think I was. I'm not. I'm an extrovert. So but I know that I'm not the norm, and so sometimes I feel like I freak people out because they think, oh, I could never be like that, which I don't know. Do you want to be like that? I don't know. It's everybody's different. Everybody has their own thing. But I feel like sometimes people just sort of they use their introvertedness to hide behind things. And in order to be a good bookkeeper with a successful business, you can't hide. You might, um, you like I know a lot of introverted, very successful bookkeeping business owners, and they will do all their peopling and then they're like, nope, I'm done. I'm done. So you do have to develop a skill of some sort of peopling, being able to communicate and put yourself out there. And it's uncomfortable. I will say I can be shy. I know you won't believe me, but I
I
can be
don't
shy.
believe that.
If I don't know people, I can be shy. And but sometimes you just kind of have to put yourself out there. And I do recommend joining networking groups to kind of
Right.
help with that, because just the more that you get used to being out there with people talking about your business, the easier it becomes. And then you can, again, at the end of the day, say, I've reached my limit. I'm going back with my book and I'm done. And we are not going to people anymore today. But I think so. I think being confident, and not just confident, because sometimes there's people who don't know a lick of what they're talking about and they're confident about things and they still don't know what they're talking about. So knowing what you're talking about, being confident about it, and being willing to get a little bit uncomfortable when it comes to being out there, that those things are what I think can really help turn you into a great bookkeeper.
Yeah, I think you nailed it too, also with the word communication. Like that stood out to
Yeah.
me because I believe, the thing is that, even if you're new coming into it, obviously having that self-confidence and just standing and being able to say, I'm a bookkeeper, this is my business, I can help you, that says volumes. But and if you don't know the answer, the fact that you have a community that you can get the
Oh,
answer, it's all about
yes.
communication, right?
Yep.
Like I believe that if you overly communicate with your clients, it makes you, I mean, 1,000 times better than so many of them out
Mhm.
there. Because all people want is to be able to know what's going on. They just want to know that you're there, that you're holding their hand, that you've got them. Like I always say when I'm talking to people, I'm like, I got you, and they start
Yeah.
laughing. I'm like, I got you. Don't you worry about it. And that's my tagline. I'm like, I got you, but
You
that
do
makes
say
them.
that a lot. Yeah,
I
you
do.
do.
I know. I'll say I got you. But
Yeah,
I found that that is very reassuring
it
for me
is.
and for them, right? Because they're like they know Deanna's got them. I've got you. Don't
Mhm.
you worry. If I don't have the answer, and I'll say, hang tight. Don't worry. I will find the answer to that. And then so I will admit if I don't always know the answer, but I will go get the answer. But I'm confident that I
Exactly.
can get that answer. That's the confidence part, right? Then the communication is I'm going to overly communicate along the way so that they don't have to sit there and worry. And my
Mhm.
husband and I were actually talking about this last night about a communication with somebody. And I'm like, it's incredible to me that someone owns a business and they just go radio silent and they don't talk and they don't communicate. And then they wonder why they lose clients. And I'm like,
Right.
Communication. It's what people want, they desire,
Mhm.
and they can tune you out if they don't, but I always overly communicate because if they just choose not to, at least I've done my part and I've overly communicated to them. So,
Exactly, exactly. I was just talking with a prospect yesterday, and she was expressing how she really kind of wanted a tax person that she can meet with in person because
uh,
she doesn't want to just email back and forth and do that. I said, "Okay, that's fine. She doesn't live in my state." I said, "I can totally help you find someone in your area." And she said, "Oh, wait, honestly, what we're doing right here with this Zoom meeting is more than I currently have with my tax person.
mm,
So I could do this. I can do Zoom or whatever." And I thought, okay, then. So I think sometimes just being able to like meet people where they are, and I'm not saying bend all your processes to, whatever they're wanting, but being willing, like you said, to communicate and not just, you know, send them automated messages all the time or something like that. Have a relationship. Bookkeeping is about relationships. It's
yes.
not about numbers. The
It's
numbers are just,
relational, not transactional.
yeah,
Even though it's
exactly.
transactional, it's so funny because there's like, the work is transactional,
Yeah,
but the client part of that business is not
exactly.
transactional, it's
That's
relational.
exactly right. Yes, yes, that's exactly right.
Well, let's talk about you were just talking about your tax business. So I'm
Yeah,
curious, you can share a little bit about so you went from
sure.
you started your bookkeeping business, you got there, you got it going, and then you decided, you know what? I just have all this time in the world. Let me just add more to it. So you
Right?
decided, right? So you
Oh my
decided to add
gosh.
taxes. So, and you said your business just blew up when you did that. And I'm
Oh my
curious, like, what
goodness.
made you decide to do that other
Yeah.
than because before you did it, you didn't know how big it was going to blow up. So, what
No.
made that shift for you?
Yeah, I decided in like 2017. Well, first of all, I'd never heard of an enrolled agent in my life until I started taking my bookkeeping course. No clue, never heard of such a thing. And then I heard about it and I thought, "Oh, okay." And I've decided, I think I'm going to add taxes to what I offer because I want to be able to add additional value to my clients and be kind of a one-stop shop for them. And so I pursued my enrolled agent certificate or certification, not certificate, certification. And thinking at that time that you had to either be a CPA or an enrolled agent to do taxes. Well, you don't. You can actually be an unenrolled preparer, and that's totally fine. And I know a lot of really fantastic uh, tax preparers who are not a CPA, they're not an EA, they're not a tax attorney. But at that time, I didn't know any better. So I went ahead and got my EA, and I found out I still don't know how to do taxes. So then I took a tax prep course because I only had the law behind me. And now I needed to learn how to actually put it all on the form. So I took that and I started kind of practicing and working with a few clients. And as soon as everybody found out that I was doing taxes, they just started coming at me because I knew all these bookkeepers. I had this
It was your
huge,
network though, right? Like your
yeah,
network was okay.
yep, it was all my network. And "Oh, hey, are you accepting new clients?" And yes. And it's so funny, and or just in different like Facebook groups or things like that. Like I was in a like an accounting group or something for local people, I think. And this gal down the road, we've never even really met. She was referring clients to me, and then they referred their parents. And so my entire tax practice so far has been referral based. I've never advertised, I've never done anything. It's always word of mouth, and they told somebody, and well, then they liked me. And so they told their whole business. I've got like
Yep.
this weird little niche of people in North Carolina. I did the taxes for a bookkeeper, referred me to her client who's a real estate broker. she told everybody in her office to use me. And so a lot of them did. Well, they're all real estate agents who are married to Marines because they live just outside of a Marine Corps base. So I have this weird niche of clients that are real estate agent wives married to Marine Corps husbands, all in North Carolina. So it's random, but it's been fantastic. It's really my tax side has just exploded over the past several years.
I love that, and
Yeah.
the fact that you have an amazing network, and we talk all the time about your network. It can be your net worth. Like everything about your network can really build your
Oh,
business, and that's the key, right? And it's like even this was as you were talking, I was like, oh, this is so true because like last week I was in Dallas at a hockey game. And I happen to wear I tell people all the time, I'm like, I'll wear I do hats and I'll do jackets with like the company name on it,
oh
right?
yeah,
So it was cold and I had my jacket on and I sat next to this guy and he's like, "Oh, I see your business." And he said, "Tell me a little bit more about it." And I was talking to him about it and he goes, "Oh, my son needs to talk to you. My son really could use your help." And you know those conversations, you're at a hockey game. You know him from Adam. You don't know him at all, but we're
yeah.
just chatting. It seemed like a nice thing. We started talking as we were sitting there watching the game. His son, he texted me while he's right there, his son and I. So I was like, okay, I'll follow up on Monday, and I did. And his son's like, can I just get on a Zoom with you? I get on this phone with Zoom with him. I'm sorry, I got on a phone with him first, then I got on a Zoom with him. So I did too. On the Zoom, he brought in his marketing agency, which was really funny about that. And they were like, oh, we know all these businesses that we want to refer clients to you. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And I was like, well, how many? And they're like, oh, we have like 400. And I'm like,
Oh my gosh.
oh, okay. In my, I mean, had my face. I mean, it was just like, oh, okay. Like, you know what I mean? And I'm like, this
Right,
was from a hockey game, right? Now,
right.
all 400, no. But my point is now I've opened up a door to a relationship to this father son that then now has this agency that now has all these other businesses that can use my help, right?
Right.
And I'm now, and I actually, when that was done, the first thing I did is I had their address up. I sent them a gift off of Amazon. I was like, oh, I can't, because remember, I want them to remember me. And it was it was a great Zoom. It was so amazing. And I've
Yeah,
already gotten
wow.
texts back and forth of that was so great. I'm going to be sending someone this way, and I've got someone else I'm going to send you. So like the intros are already happening. And so like to me that was so important that I followed up and he followed back. So networking everywhere you go, even if it's wearing a
Yeah.
jacket like with your company name or a hat or a t-shirt, like talk about it wherever you go because you're the people that you know or the people that you sit next to could be your next clients, right?
Exactly, exactly. And I think going back to kind of the introvertedness, sometimes, we're at a hockey game and we're just like, I'm not going to talk to anybody. We're
Right.
gonna just, or like on a plane for crying
Right.
out loud.
You're
We
like,
put
don't
on
talk
our
to me. Don't talk to
headphones.
me.
That's right. We put on our headphones, we get our book, and that is the clue. Do not talk to me. And eh, someone sitting next to you could be, your next client or something. Don't assume that because I don't want you to start, pitching to them or whatever, but be polite, talk to people. Don't be just in your little bubble all the time. And you just might meet someone who could introduce you or something like that, like you said.
I love that. Thank you.
Yeah.
Uh, and I mean, I do it all the time. Like I try really
Yeah,
hard to make a asserted effort of like wear something with my business logo on it or something just because it's a conversation starter, right? So because I don't
exactly.
want to talk to them, if they want to talk to me, then they'll ask me about my business. And
Yep,
so then it allows me to talk about without it feeling salesy or pitchy because
exactly.
they asked me about my business, right? So I think that's a really easy way for introverts to be able to
Yeah.
go somewhere, network without feeling like they have to. It's kind of like when someone sees you with your kids and they ask you how your kids are, you don't not talk to them. You tell them how great your kids are. So like when
Yeah.
they ask you about your business, you tell them how great you are at your business. And so I tell people
And
do that.
I feel like sometimes we're waiting for, like you were saying, having people ask us, ask them about
Mhm.
themselves too. Like, well, what do you do? Because people love to talk about themselves.
They
So if
do.
you just can ask them questions, be curious about the other person, that can open the door as well. Like I'm always, and I don't know if this is just who I am as a person. I don't know. I don't know if I've like kind of trained myself to do this. I'm always, always, always looking for some sort of common ground. So I will ask a question about, whatever, oh, where are you from or something like that. And if there's anything that I might be able to latch onto that, oh, we have this in common, I'm going to do it. And so I'll often ask questions to see, do we have anything in
Mhm.
common so that we can start talking about that thing and we can start to develop a relationship around that commonality or something. And then it can just go from there. So that's something that I do. People on a plane or whatever. And it seems to help. I mean, I don't know, I might be making up
No,
things,
you're
but
not.
it seems to help.
Yeah. Well, let's talk a little bit about who
Yeah.
Kirstin Reeder is, because you
Oh,
mentioned this, and I know who you are.
yeah.
There are so many layers to you. We've talked about the bookkeeper, the tax prep, the mom, the grandma.
Yeah.
One of the things that a lot of people don't know, and you were sharing with me earlier, is that you've created a foundation as well. And so you're always
That's
giving back.
it.
And
Yeah.
that's what I think I love so much about you is when you and everyone listening today, I want you to use this as a focus. Like I will tell you, like when I went through chemo 26 years ago, one of the things I always wanted to do was because I lost my hair, was I wanted to make enough money that I could give back and do wigs for all the people that couldn't afford wigs when they were going through chemo. That was like a thing for me. That was my mission. Like I'm going to
Mhm.
make enough
Mhm.
money that I can have this, business that I can do all those great things for other people. And one thing about you, Kirsten, is that you've done the same thing. You've built your empire and you're giving back. So why don't you share what it is that you've done?
Yeah. So last year, this has been a long time in coming, but last year we finally put feet to it. Me and three other tax preparers, which we probably should have branched out because come tax season, everything fell apart or we didn't do anything because we were so busy. But we're learning, and we don't know anything. But we started a nonprofit called Phoenix on the Horizon. Website is in process. So you can't find it right now if you're
Well,
to
we'll
look it up.
share
But
when we do, though. We will share
yeah,
in the
that's right.
community.
Sounds good. So it's called Phoenix on the Horizon, and it's we provide education resources and services for people. We say people, it's primarily women who have been financially abused through the tax system. So often what will happen is a spouse or former spouse, they'll s- they'll they'll have filed married filing jointly with their spouse, and then they end up not paying the taxes, and that leaves the victim spouse kind of on the hook for the rest. Or you've got a husband who's committing fraud in his business and the income has flowed through to the personal return, and he's threatening the wife to sign jointly, and she knows this is not legal, we could get in a lot of trouble, so I don't want to sign it. And he's like, no, you got to sign it. So we just kind of provide all the information that we can. We've got a network of tax preparers and um, people who can represent clients before the IRS that have been willing to partner with us either for pro bono work or a reduced fee, or eventually we're going to be offering scholarships to help pay for the fees, so that these people who are in these situations can get the help that they need, or at least the education, the advice that they need as they go through these different situations with their spouse or former spouse.
Wow. That's incredible. Like,
Yeah.
just in awe of what you were able to do and the fact that we were talking about having multiple businesses and, chasing your kids and grandkids and all the things, and yet you find time to give back, and that speaks volumes about you as a person.
Yeah. It was I realized I kept these women would reach out to me and ask me these questions, and I'm like, "Man, I'd love to help them." And so I thought, "Oh, I can just do some pro bono work, a couple times a year or whatever." Well, they kept coming and they kept coming, and I thought, this is kind of a job, but you kind of have to have a way to, you can't do all pro bono work. So then I thought, okay, maybe I can find an organization to help and to do this and work with people and get involved with. Well, we couldn't find one. And so then I thought, oh, I guess I have to start my own. So I reached out and found some different partners to partner with. We needed a board of 3 in order to start our nonprofit. And so we ended up with 4. So we've been working together, and it's been just wonderful so far. So we'll see. We're just getting started, and it's been exciting to see just what's out there and what we can do to help people.
Thank you so much for sharing that. That is so awesome.
Yeah.
I'm so inspired. So when you do get that website, you let us know and we'll share it with
Okay,
the
I
community.
will.
Awesome. Well, let's leave on this because here, I really appreciate your time and I'm gonna be very respectful of it. But I'd like to leave for anyone here that's listening, whether they're new, whether they're seasoned, or maybe they're just, I mean, maybe they haven't even started a booking business and they're just thinking about it. And this is like a what
Yeah.
if situation, right? Like, what is one piece of advice that you would like to leave people with that
Mm.
this could be life changing, whether they're starting, whether they're already started and they need to be making changes, or if they're seasoned and they should be looking for, well, like it's one thing that is really, has been a life changer for you and that you would like to pass on to someone else.
I think my biggest piece of advice is to not live in your bubble.
Mm.
Whether it's reaching out to people that might be a prospect or something like that, but also within your community. I absolutely could not have done the things that I've done with my businesses if it weren't for my community. Like, we've got like a group Marco Polo that we do, or we've got a Slack, or we go on work retreats together where we don't need an agenda. We don't want a guest speaker necessarily. We don't need content. We just need each other. And it's kind of like a mastermind, I guess, where, we may go to some fancy Airbnb and we're all there together, and someone says, "Hey, can we talk about employee bonus structures?" Sure, let's sit around the pool and talk about employee bonus structures, or things like that. If it weren't for those people, I never would have been able to be where I am at all. It's all because of other people. I think there's like an old adage, surround yourself with the people that you want to be like. And that is what I have purposefully done. So that's my biggest piece of advice, is to find yourself people and just latch onto them, not in a creepy way, but latch on to them, and just be a sounding board for them. Let them be a sounding board for you, and just collaborate. It's not a competition. There's more than enough business to go around. So rather than try and compete with each other, collaborate with each other and learn from each other.
Awesome. That is amazing. Leaving with the thought of community is the key, and we're actually grateful for our community as well. We tell people all the time, like, lean into that, learn
Yes.
from Learn from others and share. If you find something that works or doesn't work, share it because everyone can learn. So the community is such an important piece of your business. So thank you for saying that. Uh,
Yeah, you're welcome.
well,
And
everyone,
it
what a
wasn't even planned.
I know. What do you, I mean, Kirstin Reeder, you're just an angel, and we're just so grateful that we were able to pick your brain a little bit today. So, thank you so much for being here with us today.
Thank you for having me.
All right. Well, guys, thank you for tuning into the Stay at Home Bookkeeper podcast. Remember, your dream business starts with just one single step. And so you've got the skills, you've got that drive. Now go turn that into the freedom if you haven't already. So take action this week. We'll see you on our next episode. Thank you, everyone.